Hi, welcome to my channel Tech Trivia. I'm Siddharth, and this is the second video of how to become a Salesforce developer video series. In this series, I'm trying to break down all development concepts in the most easiest way so that anybody and everybody can learn it and make a bright career in Salesforce ecosystem. In the previous video, we talk about how to write queries, mainly SOQL and SOSL. If you have not watched that video yet, I'm going to give the link in I button here. So just go through that video first and then come back on this video. Today, I'm going to cover Apex basics. And if you are just a beginner in Salesforce, or if you are a fresher, or if you are coming from a different technology background and you want to learn how to code in Salesforce, so stay tuned and watch this video till the end. In this video, we're gonna learn how to use variables, collections, and loops in Apex. So without any further delays, let's log in Salesforce and get started. So once you log in Salesforce, you need to click on the gear icon at top right corner and click Developer Console. All right, now you need to click on Debug, the third option on the top from left, and then select Open, Execute, Anonymous window. So let's first talk about variables. So you can declare two different types of variables in Apex. One, primitive types, and two, SObject types. So let's understand what are the primitive types. So you can declare a variable of integer type, string, decimal, date, date time, etc. So for instance, if I type integer I equals 0, in this case, integer is a type. It's a primitive type. I is a variable name, and I'm assigning a value that's a 0. Now, one thing you notice, the type, you always begin with uppercase, and for variable name, you always start with the lowercase. Similarly, you can also declare a variable of Salesforce object type, that's account. ACCT is just a variable name. So account is a type, and so I started A capital, and ACCT, it's a variable name, so it begins with the lowercase. And each statement you need to end with the semicolon. In the account example, we are not yet assigning any value, so you can simply write SOQL query, which we have learned in the previous video. Select ID, comma name, annual revenue from account limit 1. Now in this case, using SOQL query, you are fetching an account and assigning it to this variable. You can print the value in the variable by using debug statements. So system.debug, I'm adding the second debug to print the second variable value. So debug statements are similar to you use system.println statement in Java. Now let me execute it. All right. Once you executed the code, there is a checkbox in the middle of the screen that says debug only because we are just interested to see the debug result. So check this checkbox and you notice it says I value is 0 and SECT is holding up an account value. So mainly ID, name, and annual revenue because these are the fields we are fetching in the query. Don't worry about the code that we're gonna execute today because I'm gonna push the code in the GitHub repo and add the link in the video description so you can easily find the code over there. So next thing we're gonna talk about collections, and like most other technologies, Apex also supports three types of collections: list, set, and map. So let's talk about list first. For list, you need to remember a couple of things. One, it's a collection of ordered elements, meaning that it maintains the order in which you are adding elements in the collection, in the list. Two, it always stores the value with a specific unique index. An index starts with 0. And 3, it also holds duplicate values. So now let's quickly write some sample list code and verify our learning. All right, so let me quickly explain each and every line. First line is how I can declare a list and initialize it. So list, and I'm declaring list of string so that I can add multiple string values, text values in the list. Str list is a variable name, and I am using equals operator, new keyword, and initializing list variable with a blank list. Now, initialization is important because otherwise the variable will be null and you cannot do anything with null. So anytime you want to initialize something, you always use equals operator, a new keyword, put exactly the same variable type and parentheses at the end. That's how you initialize collections, initialize records, etc. All right, now line number 2 to line number 5, I'm adding a value in the list, and purposely I'm just adding value in a different order. So starting with D, A, U, A, and I'm also adding duplicate values. All right. Line number 7, 8, 9 are debug statements. I'm printing my variables in those statements so that I can see when this code gets executed, what actual value the variable holds. Now, first debug statement, we are just simply checking the size, means how many values are there in the list. In the second debug statement, line number 8, is we are printing all of its value. And the last line, I'm printing the value stored at the second number index. So in that case, we are expecting test D will be stored with 0 index, test A is 1, and test U is the second index. So the last debug statement should print test U. Let's verify. So you need to make sure open lock checkbox is checked and then click execute, or select the code like me and click execute highlighted. Either ways it will work. All right, once you see the log, click on debug only to verify your debug statements. The total elements are 4 because total 4 values are there in the list. Look at the value, it's in the same order we are adding in, and the last debug is printing test U as we expected. So it's working. All right, now next we're going to talk about set. So set is a collection of unordered elements. That means it does not maintain the order in which you are adding the value in the set. It actually sorts alphabetically. Two, it cannot hold duplicate values. So when you attempt to add a duplicate value, it basically overrides on the existing value. And three, it does not maintain any indexes. All right, let's jump into developer console and write some sample set code to verify our learning. All right, now you notice similar to the list, the first line we are declaring a set of string and the variable name is strset equals operator new keyword to initialize the variable. And line number 2 to 5, we are adding a value in a set. And I'm just using the same values which we used to add in the list. So D, A, U, A. And then three debug statements where I need to also update the set. Okay, so the first debug, which is gonna print the size of the set. In this case, it will be 3 because we are adding test A twice and set can only hold the unique value. So it just one test A will be there in the set. Second debug is gonna print all of the values and the last debug statement is gonna throw an error because set does not use indexes, right? Let me execute it and you see there is an error. So let's comment it. You can add double slash to comment that line. And now if you execute the code and then check debug only checkbox to see the debug statement result and you notice the total elements are 3 because the test A appears just 1. And the second debug statement you notice the values are sorted. So it does not maintain the order that you are adding in. So that's all about set. Now the next thing is map. So map is basically a collection of key value pairs. So you're always gonna add values with its unique key. Now keys have to be unique, but you can duplicate the values with unique key. And it also sorts the result in ascending order. Let's write simple code for map as well and analyze debugs. All right, so let me quickly explain the code line by line. So the first line is the declaration of map, and I'm using integer as a key, string as a value. So left hand side in the map is always the key, right hand side is the value. The variable name is int string map, and I'm initializing by using equals operator and new keyword, and at the end, parenthesis. Now, map doesn't have add method, so we're gonna use put. You may ask me this question that how you can find out the methods which you can use with list, set, or map. That's super easy. You can open up a browser and just write apex list methods in Apex. And the first URL, you click on that, the list class. I'm going to include these links in the video description as well. You can easily access the Apex reference guide from there. If you click on list methods, these are the methods that you can use on lists. So we used add method. We have also used get method, and one other we use is size, right? Similarly, you can search for map methods, and you need to open the map class in Apex reference guide, and you will find all of the methods which you can potentially use with map. All right, so I'm using put, and you notice because it's a key value pair, so using put, I'm adding the key and value in the map, and I'm using unique key, but I repeated the key in line number 4 and 6. Uh, line number 4, I'm adding test u with the 6 number key, and line number 6, I'm adding test I with 6 number key. And I'm also repeating the value, if you notice, line number 3 and line number 5. But for those two values, the keys are unique. So you expect the map will hold both of test A because they store with the unique key. But when the last line, the line number 6 is going to be executed, it's going to override test U because you're using the same key that was used earlier. All right. The first debug, line number 8, we are checking the size. In this case, size will be 4 because uh, test U will be overridden by test I. So therefore, it's a 4. Now, second debug, you're going to see the value stored in the map and it's sorted value by keys. And the last line, we wanted to see the value that's stored with 6 number key. So the map variable dot get 6. Let's execute the code and verify. Click on debug only, and let me also open the code side by side so we can verify the result. Oh, my bad. I used 3 as a 2 times. So let me change it to 4. And I think now it should be good. Let's get it executed again. And I'll notice the size is 4 because 4 values are there. And the result is sorted by keys. So 1, 3, 4, and 6. And the last line has printed test I because that's what you are adding with 6 number key. Great. So that's how the map will work. We already talked about collections, and that is basically you have multiple values of the same type and you declare collection variables to store multiple values of the same type. Now, what if let's say you want to just find one of the values from the collection? You need a loop. All right. So let's talk about loops. So there will be 3 different types of loops that you can write in Apex: while, do while, and for. Now, while and do while work in a similar way, except just one thing. In while, the condition is checked first, and do while the condition will be checked later. And the for loop is very handy when you really want to find a specific value from a collection. So let's quickly write sample code for all these different loops and understand how they all work. So let's start with while loop first. All right, now let me quickly explain the code. Line number one is where we declare integer type variable I and assign 0 as a value. And there is a condition we are saying while I value is greater than 10, keep executing the code between the curly braces. Now, between the curly braces, you have a debug statement where you are simply printing the value of I and you are incrementing i's current value by 1. So I plus plus is basically I equals I plus 1. All right. So these two statements are going to be executed as long as the while condition is true. And once I becomes 10, because 10 is not less than 10, in that case, it executes the last line while ends here. Let's verify by clicking on execute button and see the result. And you notice the value of I debug has printed from 0 to 9. And once it becomes 10, it prints the last line. So last line got executed 1 and the other debug statement got executed multiple times because it was uh, within the loop, right? Similarly, let's check for do while. All right, so line number one is where you declare an integer n equals 0. So integer is a type, the variable name is n, and assigning 0 value. And then there is a do statement or do loop where you notice the code statements you are adding within the curly braces are going to be executed multiple times as long as the while is true. In the while, you are just checking n is less than 10. Now output of this loop will be the same. So let me write do while ends here and click execute, check the debug only, and notice the n value is from 0 to 9. And then the last line, do while ends here. All right, that's about do while. Now let's see how for loop works. Okay, so in the for loop, all three statements you're gonna write in the parentheses, so for, and then in the parentheses you're gonna declare integer, so k equals 0, also checking the condition k less than 10, and also incrementing k's value in every iteration, so k plus plus. And there is a debug statement which is gonna print the value of k, and the last statement, the loop ends here. All right, uh, wait a minute. If you watched the video till here and if you are liking the content, then please hit the like button and share this video with others. All right, so let's select the code and click execute highlighted. And then filter the logs by checking debug only checkbox. And you notice the output is pretty much the same. The value of k from 0 to 9, and last is for loop ends here, right? Now, actually, for loop you can write in two different forms. This is a traditional form, the most popular way of writing for loop in many different technologies as well. There is another way you can write the for. It's also known as a for each statement. So we don't use each, but it's just a for. So you're gonna write, let's make it a bit simpler. So I'm gonna say, all right, so let me explain the code. So the first line, you declared a list of account and use SOQL query to fetch 5 account from your org. And the second line is your for loop. And you notice there is a colon, and left hand side of colon is single account. You declare a variable ACCT, and right inside of that column is basically collection of values. So ACCT list is collection, list of accounts. Line number 3 is a debug statement where you are printing the name of the account. And the last line is basically it says for loop ends here. So what we are expecting here, your SOQL query will fetch 5 accounts, and line number 3 will be printing those 5 account names, and the line number 5 will be executed at the end just once. Now you can also write this SOQL query directly in the for loop, but just to make it simpler, I used it outside of for. Now let's select everything and click execute highlighted, and then you check debug only. You verify it has fetched 5 different accounts, and these are the names of those 5 accounts. And there is a last line, for loop ends here. Great. So let me quickly summarize what we have covered today. So we started learning variables and how to declare them. 2 types of variables, primitive types and SObject types. And then we talk about collections. In collections, we covered list, set, and map. Uh, then we discussed about loops. 3 different loops we talk about: while, do while, and for. In for, we just see 2 different flavors. One is the traditional for loop. The other one is advanced for loop, where you have collection of items, right side of the column, and left hand side is a single instance, and that's how you iterate on the collection. I hope this video is helpful to those who are new to Salesforce development. And if you have any specific suggestions, please drop your comment on this video. And if you are enjoying the content, then please hit the like button. And if you are new to the channel, then please hit the subscribe button and also click the bell icon to get notified for all of my upcoming videos. So that is it for today. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next week with the new topic. Happy learning.